The internet is abuzz with speculation that Charlie Cox's Daredevil character could show up in the next MCU Spider-Man film. Let's break down where the reports are coming from and why we desperately hope this happens. What's up, everybody? It's Josh. Welcome back to the channel. Punch the crap out of that like button like Daredevil, and let's get into this video. Okay, so I want to talk about this crazy rumor, this thing that's being spread around about something that Kevin Smith said in a podcast talking about Charlie Cox, or rather Daredevil, or even a lawyer showing up to help Spider-Man in Spider-Man 3. And I do want to get into like where this is coming from and the possibility of it being true, but by and large, this just seems like total speculation to me. I mean, Kevin Smith does make it seem like he heard something from somebody in Hollywood that's indicating that Daredevil could be in Spider-Man 3, but at this point, like, what he would have seen or heard is so early in production that we really don't know at all if this actually will happen. So that's kind of where it's coming from. It's coming from Kevin Smith saying this, but also MCU Cosmic and Jeremy Conrad actually ran several stories late last year about how this could be a possibility. They had heard some things about how there could be a Daredevil-like character, or Daredevil himself, being in Spider-Man 3, helping Peter Parker out with some of his legal trouble. In fact, Jeremy Conrad took it to the next level in some of his other articles, talking about how he had heard from sources that there were several MCU Netflix characters that Kevin Feige was absolutely in love with and definitely wanted to bring into the MCU, and Daredevil and Charlie Cox's Daredevil was one of these people. And the timing here would kind of line up, as we know there was a 2-year grace period after the Netflix shows were canceled where Marvel was not able to use those characters at all. And to add to that, there were a lot of Marvel insiders out there that were talking about how Marvel was developing things with some of the Netflix properties even now. So they were kind of in a stage of development with some of those characters to release them into their content once that 2-year grace period was up. And so, Charlie Cox Daredevil in Spider-Man 3, it actually is possible. I'd only give it about a 60% chance, though. I just still really don't see Feige taking versions of characters that were on different shows outside of the MCU. And I know there's a lot of people out there, like, I can hear you yelling at the screen right now being like, well, the Netflix shows were canon to the MCU. And to that, I just have to say, look at Blade. Taking Mahershala Ali from the MCU Netflix shows and putting him into the MCU as Blade, and just, I really don't think that it's canon. I frankly do not think that the Netflix shows are canon to the MCU, particularly now with Feige taking over Marvel Television and essentially taking over Marvel Comics. There's just no reason for him to connect to anything other than the stuff that he actually wants to connect to. I mean, I'm under the impression, and this comes from insiders as well, that even the freaking Inhumans, which was an official Marvel Television project, that is not even going to be canon to the MCU, that the new Marvel Television is going to distance itself from even that stuff, possibly even from Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. as well. But now let's get into the fun stuff. Let's just nerd out about how awesome it would be if we did get Daredevil, whether it's Charlie Cox or not, in Spider-Man 3. I mean, first of all, these characters both patrol in New York City. Daredevil and Spider-Man both exist in New York City, and they have had run-ins before in the comics. In fact, more than a few. And so in that sense, it would make a lot of sense for these characters to interact, but besides their superhero identities interacting, it would make sense for Matt Murdock to be willing and able to represent Peter Parker if we literally see him brought into the courts for this court case. Now, I probably don't have to tell you this, but this all has to do with the ending of Spider-Man Far From Home, where Peter Parker is exposed to not only be the person that is Spider-Man, but he is blamed for all of the catastrophic stuff that Mysterio was doing in that film. So in that way, it makes a lot of sense for the actual story. Like, if Peter Parker's not just going to go on the run, if he's going to try to face some of this legal trouble, it would make sense that he gets representation from a great lawyer that's in New York, and Matt Murdock would perfectly work as that character. On top of that, they actually have similar powers. It's very interesting. Even though obviously Spider-Man is a lot stronger than Daredevil, they both have similar powers as far as how to utilize either their Spidey sense, or the Peter tingle when it comes to Peter, or the sort of sonar extrasensory abilities that Daredevil has. It would be amazing to watch these characters fighting together, swinging together. You know, Daredevil can swing from his sort of strung out baton around the city of of New York City, and of course, Spider-Man would be swinging on his webs. They could be jumping from rooftop to rooftop, and when they got into actual combat, it would just be so crazy. Like, imagine the choreography that you could do with two characters that can seemingly sense where the fight is going, sense where the blows are coming from, and literally be kind of like super ninja about it and just fighting together. I would love to see those two characters on the screen fighting against some baddie. There's also a really interesting opportunity to take some of the things that happened in some of the Daredevil comics and attribute them to Spider-Man in this next film. Daredevil was famously exposed just like Spider-Man was, where the whole world thought Matt Murdock was Daredevil, and he went through great lengths to sort of prove that he was not Daredevil, including putting other people in the suit, including lying low as being Daredevil, and even wearing a shirt that says, "I'm not Daredevil." And I would just love to see Tom Holland wearing a shirt like that says, "I'm not Spider-Man," and having to figure that out and taking some of that Daredevil flavor and sprinkling on to this Peter Parker run. That would be pretty cool. Now, another really cool possibility of putting these two characters together is the fact that Daredevil would likely know that Peter was lying. So right away, he would know that Peter was lying, and he would know that Peter was Spider-Man. However, this could sort of prompt Matt Murdock to tell his secret to Peter Parker and formulate some kind of a bond between them. And there could also be this other threat that's coming in that, while very big and crazy, might actually be a more grounded street level threat, which would allow the two characters to go out on night patrol together and then also work the case together and be in court trying to prove that Peter was not Spider-Man. And because of Spider-Man's connections to a bunch of Avengers and a bunch of other superheroes out there, if he is patrolling with Daredevil and then is intercepted by, like, let's say War Machine or somebody else that is like a higher profile character, it's a great opportunity to have the new Daredevil character interface and sort of mingle with other already established Marvel heroes. And one more thing that I want to speculate about, and this would be the inclusion of She-Hulk into the show as well. This would be absolutely incredible if you had a scenario in which She-Hulk was representing the state or representing the government that is literally trying to condemn Peter Parker, and then you have Matt Murdock on the other side of that protecting Peter Parker. And this would likely happen after the She-Hulk series, and She-Hulk could be an officially represented Avenger that has signed the Sokovia Accords, that is all good with the government, and she could also be bringing that up in the case against Peter Parker and Spider-Man as well. And there's a crazy opportunity for all three of those characters to end up working together and to end up being a part of sort of the Avengers, because I truly believe that Spider-Man will eventually rejoin the Avengers. According to the casting sheet for She-Hulk, that character is going to be a future member of the Avengers, and who knows, even Daredevil has been a part of the Avengers in the past, and so it would be very interesting to see this crazy story where there's this one storyline going on where She-Hulk and Daredevil are fighting in the courtroom, then there's this other story going on where Spider-Man and Daredevil are fighting against villains in New York. She-Hulk could potentially get into that battle in New York as well as an official Avenger, and then you have this just crazy sort of collision of all of these different storylines, and it would be fascinating to see how it all played out. But that's it, folks. That's where the rumor is coming from, why people are talking about Daredevil being in Spider-Man 3. As I said many times in this video, I think it's just speculation for now. I would love for Charlie Cox to be Daredevil in the MCU, but there's just something about the way Feige handles things that makes me think that probably won't be the case. But I, of course, want to know what you think. Do you think we're going to get Charlie Cox as Daredevil in the MCU? Do you buy into some of the hype about Daredevil potentially being in Spider-Man 3? Where are you at with all of this? Let me know your thoughts in the comment section below. Now let's shout out Lambert Hospers. Yes, indeed, MODOK stands for Mechanized Organism Designed Only for Killing in Marvel Comics. So shout out to you, Lambert. And now, let's ask another nerd card question before we get out of here. I want to know, what is the name of the character that replaces Matt Murdock as Daredevil in the Ultimates universe? Matt Murdock dies in the Ultimates universe, then Stick actually finds a replacement, sort of this young kid. I want to know, what is the name of that kid who replaces Matt Murdock as Daredevil in the Ultimates universe? As I always say, I hope you're having an awesome and a nerdy day, and I'll see you in the next video. Thanks for watching this video. The Den of Nerds is independent media. If you want to support us, you can do something as simple as liking or sharing this video. If you want to financially support us, you can join the list of names you see below and become a supporter of us on Patreon. We also do live streams all week, Monday through Friday, over on our live streaming channel. Support independent media. Support the Den of Nerds.